Hey everybody, it's Todd Nauck, and I'm back with part 2 of the Magneto Copic commission I was working on. Finally got the video ready for the Copic color here, and we'll just jump right into it. As you can see here, I'm laying in this is kind of a base purple for the foundation of Magneto's costume. I'll come in with darker shades here after I get this initial layer down. So starting off with a lighter color and leaving spaces open, white spaces of the paper open for like highlights. Kind of helps create some depth utilizing the white of the paper as an actual color. So I'll come in and work out each plane of the different shapes of Magneto's, either his body or his costume. Elements like the helmet here, trying to create a sense of roundness, a sense of depth, and I like to utilize full saturation with the Copic markers. Really get in there and really block in that color and let it be as vibrant as possible. As I walk us through this video here, I'll probably try to answer a couple of the questions y'all have posted either on my YouTube channel or in the comment section or on Twitter or Facebook, or even have emailed me directly. So I'll try to work in one or two of those during the course of this. Yeah, I might as well do one now. Andy Manley asks, how long does it take to draw a comic? Most artists get most of the time we get about 4 weeks to do our specific job, whether that be penciling, inking, or whatever. That's a kind of an average, give or take, depending on the deadline schedule of the book. I'm currently penciling and inking a series for Robert Kirkman called Invincible Universe, and pretty much I get that book done in 4 weeks, so I can pencil and ink each issue each month. So it took me a while to kind of figure out a work process that allowed me to do 2 jobs in the same amount of time as doing 1 job. But I found a way to make it happen, and maybe I'll share that process in a future video. And you can see now here I've moved into, and thanks Andy for the question. You can see I've moved into adding the red of Magneto's costume. So this will just continue to establish the base color, and then I'll come in with darker shades to render out the body, to give it a sense of depth, of more depth. And let's see, well, let's take another question here, one from Jason Gutierrez. He asks, when I'm doing con sketches, is there one character other than Galactus that I hope is not asked for, and why? I can't really think of any other character that I wouldn't want to draw. In fact, now that I have had a chance to draw Galactus, I actually find him to be kind of a fun challenge. I just love superheroes in general, so if they're characters that I've enjoyed as a kid and as a comic book fan, then I really enjoy drawing them. So, my favorite Marvel, DC, and independent characters are definitely a lot of fun. So, Fortunately, there's not a character that I don't think I'd like to draw, but I appreciate the question, Jason, for sure. Fortunately, people don't ask for Galactus commissions, which I do appreciate. Here I'm doing in the flesh tones of Magneto's face. I start with a 0-0 for a base, and then come in with the darker shades, as I listed there, to help sculpt the planes of his face. And now I'm using a darker shade of red here to layer on top of the lighter shade. I like to work light to dark, and I like how the way the ink lays on top of the lighter color. It creates kind of a harder cut shape for the rendering. So I like the way that looks, as opposed to the smoother blending. I don't mind smoother blending. I can come in with a lighter shade on top of this darker shade and really blend them. These markers blend really well, and I do enjoy doing that for female characters, especially for their faces, to get that soft sort of look. So I do want to utilize the blending occasionally. I'm not against that at all. It just depends on the effect that I want to achieve, and I found that I really enjoy the putting darker color on top of lighter color and not blending them so much for those harder angles and shapes. And I think it looks a little more dynamic. As you see, I've come in here with a darker purple to go on top of the lighter purple base, and yeah, it's kind of just a kind of a style I kind of happened on, happened upon it with just experimentation. Just trying things with markers. Utilizing techniques I see my friends doing, and then trying some new things on my own. You just never know what you're going to discover. So that's the fun thing about working with this kind of stuff, is that you can experiment and try new things and see what works best. It doesn't always have to be perfect the first time out, and you never know what kind of happy accidents you might stumble across. So always encourage experimentation. So I'm continuing to just finish up putting in the shading part here, kind of overlaying more dark on top of dark to kind of help darken it up. These markers do layer as nicely as they blend, I find. Then I put in some shadows here in the teeth with kind of a cooler gray, and did the Magneto's eyes, and now I've moved on to another stage that can be a lot of fun. This is a liquid frisket stage. So what I was doing just there with the toothbrush was flicking this, it's kind of a rubbery type substance that will adhere to the paper. Once it dries, I can then paint over it here with my ink. And so what essentially I'm doing is creating a kind of a night sky sort of look. I do this in my comic book interior pages. The frisket, as long as it doesn't glob up too big and big pools, but stays in the little tiny flecks, it doesn't affect the line art or the color art. It doesn't change things up from my experience so far. I have had big globs that will actually end up tearing the paper. If it's too big of a glob and it dries too hard, it's too big of a surface area, and it wants to just grab hold of the paper when it's time to remove the liquid frisket. But essentially, it's covering up, that rubbery part covers up the white of the paper. So as I paint over the paper, I'm painting over the rubbery flecks and the actual artboard itself. So once I'm done here, painting up all this this background and just kind of letting it dry brush as I come here towards the bottom, so it creates kind of a gradation effect and gives a little more for the eye to play with. What I'll do is I will then take an eraser here, as you will soon see as I reach the bottom of this this image here. Is I take an eraser, and as I erase and of course, please do wait for the ink to completely dry. If you don't wait for the ink to completely dry, the eraser will pull any wet ink off of the frisket and smear it across your drawing, and that is an accident you don't want to happen. So wait for it to completely be dry, and then you come in and erase all of the those little rubbery parts. They'll pull right off with a regular eraser, brush away the residue, and then you have a finished night sky. I like this better than drawing in the stars. Just it looks more chaotic and in a sense a little more natural to a degree. And you can flick it in different directions, and this is it. Thanks a lot for tuning in. See y'all soon. Bye.